got your notes?
Don't need them.
Thanks for making the trip, fellas. And now here's Captain David Acevedo.
Thank you, Wanda. The Farmington District of Los Angeles, which I have been commanding for the last 4 months, has traditionally been one of the most dangerous and crime-ridden areas of the city.
Usually when I do my must-watches, I usually try to go with lesser-known shows. But this week I felt like I need to inject some life into the S.H.I.E.L.D. fanbase. Because let's face facts. There are people turning 18 now that weren't even alive when the show started, and they're barely out of diapers when the show ended. So this is for them. And for some of the old homies who need a reminder to do a rewatch. People have a love-hate relationship with cop shows. Mostly because the procedural cop show has like the average lifespan of 15 to like 25 years. I mean, CSI literally had a reboot with William Peterson back as Gil Grissom, even though the original show just ended like 3 years ago. But among all these routine cop shows, more than a few stand out. Like The Wire, True Detective Season 1, and a few seasons of Dexter, and many, many others. But one cop show I put above the rest. And that cop show is The S.H.I.E.L.D. Almost called Rampart based off the Rampart scandal that took place in the 90s, where it was discovered that maybe some cops may have been a little dirty. Fuck. Holy shit, does that say bank robbery? Perhaps they acted a little outside their authority. Maybe just a little bit. But because most average people hadn't heard of the Rampart scandal, they decided to change the name to The S.H.I.E.L.D. And the rest is history. The S.H.I.E.L.D. is a unique beast of a show, to say the least. It's not just that it's well written and well acted, which it is big time, but it dealt with a lot of real life issues like police corruption, political power plays, and poverty, and everyday work and family drama, while also being a badass action show, where the quote-unquote heroes win at the end of the day. Well, for the most part. The show follows Detective Vic Mackey, a hard-as-nails cop who isn't afraid to bend the rules to take down criminals. He's also not afraid to bend the rules when he wants to steal or extort criminals for money.
He's a good man.
Vic is the leader of a task force called the Strike Team. And one thing you'll learn about the Strike Team pretty quickly is Shane is the fucking problem. All their problems start with Shane. But the other thing you'll learn is the Strike Team, they all have Vic's back completely. And he has theirs. They aren't just friends. They're brothers. And they're pretty much just as deep in the shit as Vic is. Especially Shane. The Strike Team consists of 3 members. First we have Lem, played by Kenny Johnson. The youngest member. But actually the oldest in real life. Seriously, look it up. Lem is the least corrupt of the Strike Team, and is basically loved by everyone. Even people who don't like Vic or the Strike Team, even they typically like Lem. Lem, of all members of the Strike Team, has a strong conscience. But his loyalty to the Strike Team prevents him going completely legit. And it's a shame to see because Lem is clearly a sweet guy. Then we have Ronnie, played by David Reese Snell. Ronnie isn't much of a talker in the early seasons because his character was basically an extra. Ronnie, like Lem, has a massive amount of loyalty to the Strike Team. And even though Ronnie's no psycho, he isn't as bothered by breaking the law or hurting people to make money or to help the Strike Team, unlike Lem, who feels guilty for some of the things they do. Honestly, Ronnie is a bit of a quiet asshole, so most people don't realize what he's capable of. But I do enjoy his character, and you probably will too. And then we have one. Shane is a favorite character for most people. Even if you don't like Shane as a person, he definitely keeps things interesting. Like Lem and Ronnie, Shane has mad love for the Strike Team. But unlike the other two, Shane holds more loyalty towards Vic than anything else. And Shane is definitely a good guy to have on your side. But unlike Vic, Ronnie, and Lem, Shane is much more sadistic. Vic definitely crosses the line fucking people up on the show, but it was usually in anger where he really lost it. Whereas Shane, well, Shane is definitely the most villain-like in this group of anti-heroes. And I call them anti-heroes, but that's the beauty of the show. I honestly don't know what to call the strike team. Anti-heroes, villains? I have no fucking idea. And that's what's so great about this show. You'll have to figure that out for yourself. Because I don't know if there's a clear answer to that question. And that's just strength in writing. But beyond the strike team, there's a whole cast of characters that make this show great. And it's one of the few shows out there that has a big cast and actually knows how to use it. Every character's side story, if you even want to call it that, but every character's story is usually engaging as anything that the strike team gets up to. Which is rare in a modern TV landscape where most shows have too many characters and not enough interesting storylines to go around. Which is why the fast forward button on my remote is worn out so drastically. Sorry, Yennefer, I want to see Cavill fuck shit up. So let's get to know the rest of the cast. Also, I will be leaving out some people, but it's because there's a lot of important characters I could bring up here. But I just don't have time, so... Let's start with Dutch Wagenbach, played by Jay Kearns. Dutch is a brilliant detective. Unfortunately for him, he's not as brilliant as he thinks he is, because if he was, they wouldn't need a police force in California. But even as a brilliant detective, Dutch still wants to be like the cool guy at the precinct. But unfortunately, he's the weird, creepy kid who tries to be cool, usually ends up completely embarrassing himself. And Vic and the strike team, who are seen as the cool guys at the station, don't make it any easier on him.
That face, how could you say no?
He's just thinking of all the times Pussy told him no.
Pussy said yes plenty.
But as the show goes on, Dutch makes some pretty amazing solves, and kind of raises his standing at the station. But he's a nerd first and foremost. But you can't help but like the guy. He's the perfect mix of low self-esteem with a bit of neurosis, and somehow he also has a huge ego. But he's great though. Then we have Claudette, played by CCH Pounder.
God damn it, Dutch! What other errands do you have us running for the DA?
Claudette's Dutch's partner, and is either smart or smarter than Dutch. She despises office politics, and she isn't a big fan of Vic's. But she is willing to tolerate these things to a point, but isn't afraid to speak up when she knows she's right. More than anything, Claudette wants to do what's right, especially when it comes to protecting citizens. And yes, she does solve Vic's game from time to time, but it's always for the right reasons, and it keeps us all on our toes. I think the best part of Claudette is when she rolls her eyes when Dutch puts his foot in his mouth, especially when his ego is involved, because it's even more hilarious because he's completely oblivious to the fact that he's saying something kind of ignorant and doesn't realize it, but yeah, it's always funny. Claudette just rolls her eyes and walks away, but it's funny for us more than anything. But honestly, Dutch and Claudette's friendship is one of the better parts of the show. Next we have David Aceveda, played by Benito Martinez. This guy fucking hates Vic, right from the very first moment they meet each other. But David sees himself as a white knight, sorry, I know racist, that's going to clean up corruption in the LAPD. I'm sure he does want to clean up the police force. But what really drives his character are his political aspirations to be mayor of LA. Which pushes him to do just about anything to achieve that goal, including working with and looking the other way on some of Vic's ongoings, while also trying to undermine and bust Vic. It's a very complicated relationship. That's David's biggest blind spot in his own self-evaluation. He doesn't realize that him and Vic are very close morally. Which just makes him pretty much just a normal person, because most people don't realize how big of assholes they really are. But Aceveda plays the game well, politically and against Vic. He can take almost any situation and turn it to his advantage politically, but Vic is the foil that he can't seem to crush. Aceveda is brilliant and college educated, where Vic comes from a working class background. So it's a nice contrast to see how their brains work against each other. But intelligent-wise, it's hard to tell who's smarter.
God damn it, Dutch! What other errands do you have us running for the DA?
Then we have Danny.
Oh, hot. Want to touch the hiney?
I might as well roll Julian, her partner, into this quickly. The actor Michael Jace in real life killed his wife. I don't want to get into that here, so I'm going to talk quickly about Julian. He's a good guy. He's also gay. But let's talk about Danny, played by Catherine Dent. Danny is a tough but fair officer of the law, while also being a sexy babe. She's smart and ambitious, but unlike Aceveda, Danny has a conscience, and she won't fuck other people over for a promotion. She is definitely Team Vic.
Oh, you've got to be shitting me.
Yeah. But she mostly stays out of anything sketchy Vic does and mostly just does her job, and she does it well. Even though she's probably in the show less than other characters, she always has good storylines to follow. And lucky for us, she's responsible for at least 20% of Dutch's awkward and weird moments.
Oh, you've got to be shitting me.
And even though there are a shit ton more characters I could include, like Glenn Close Captain Monica Rawlings, or Forrest Whitaker's Lieutenant John Kabanoff, who were only on the show for a brief period, but made their presence felt. But there are just too many characters like that to list, so it is what it is. My final thoughts are, if you like shows where characters act like humans with faults, doubts, and morally grey actions, while also showing that people can be truly good and even heroic sometimes, then you'll probably like this show. Like The Wire, this show isn't always easy to watch, because it shows people at their worst, and it also shows how some people can do horrible things for really stupid reasons. But that makes it almost real because, as a fan of true crime, I can tell you, most people commit crimes for really, really fucking stupid reasons. The show pulls all this off while being one of the most fulfilling action shows out there. Even the political parts of the show are interesting. Plus, it's good to know that sometimes when the police make stupid decisions, it isn't always because of incompetence. Sometimes it's because of the politics behind the scenes. Every season of the show is great. Definitely a 9 out of 10 or above for each season. But if you make it to the end, the final episode is probably going to stick with you for a while. Yeah, it's one of those. Don't say I didn't warn you. But do yourself a favor and check out The Shield. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and check out my Patreon at patreon.com/themadtoker.